So welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a very special guest and one of our seven-figure power partners, Mr. Shawn Getty. Needs no introduction.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time. I know you're super duper busy. We've had to rearrange this on numerous occasions.
Sorry,
It's always
man.
a good sign. No. It's always a good sign of busy real estate professionals. You know, like typically, even when we are, signing clients and they have to rearrange 6 or 7 times, some people haven't got that in them to continue to follow up, where I know that's a good sign that they're a great potential client because they are already doing lots of business. So yeah, man, never ever apologize for putting in the graph. But yeah, I just really wanted to maybe talk about how you got into real estate, because I followed your journey kind of from day one, and I love seeing the before and afters of kind of working on the doors and and how you've transformed your life. And as we've spoken about off camera, how similar our kind of ascension has been, because we kind of built our businesses in a similar way in a similar time frame. But yeah, take me back to the beginning. Kind of, where did it all start from you for you? What were you doing prior to real estate, and what was that kind of decision to then transition into real estate?
Yeah. So this will take up the next hour of our interview. So good question.
It'll be worth it though. But this is so valuable to a lot of people, of where where you think like maybe you don't have it in you, and then, to be able to transform your life, maybe the way we both have,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, well, to kind of start it all off, my first introduction to real estate, I was actually 19 years old in Vancouver. And I took the real estate course over there. And I remember I got to the second chapter, got to the third chapter. And that's when they started talking about law and like all like the legalities of it and stuff. And that was difficult for me to understand, especially back at that time. And then on top of that, I was just a kid, right? So I actually let fear set in and take over, and I never ended up finishing the course. So that was when originally it started, was at 19 years old, taking the course. Wow. And walking away from it. So failing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I never touched it again, up until 4 years ago now. And what happened is like super, super long story short, my life fell apart, my own fault. Unfortunately, I lost my marriage, I lost my health, and I lost my career all at the same time. Wow. And I spiraled out of control completely. And I really struggled. I struggled with mental health. I struggled with depression. I really struggled with suicide. And my life was not in a good place. And I kept feeling like I couldn't get out of it at all. And so I was in the real estate course again at this time. Completely broke. I had no money whatsoever. And I remember I got again to the second chapter. It's my MO.
Second chapter. You started to get some trauma from the first time.
Yeah. Even though it was a different course, because now it was the Calgary course instead of the Vancouver course. And, 20 years later, I got to about the second chapter. And at this point in my life, I was broken. I couldn't afford to eat. Actually, oddly enough, I lived in this house, just moved back into this one. But wow. I was selling all of my possessions for food at the time. I remember like the worst one, sold a pillow for like $2 on Facebook Marketplace. Wow. And I had like $2.80 or something like that. And I was like, well, should I go buy a can of tuna? Because that's about what it costs. Or should I go put $2 of gas in my truck so I can try to get to work? And I had a truck at the time. And that's what I did. I walked up to the gas station. I put like $2.80 of coins to the person. Wow. And I remember they look at me, they're like, $2? You sure? I'm like, that's all I got. Like, how embarrassing is that, right? But $2 and it does nothing. It's just a truck, right? So that's how bad my struggle was. And I remember I gave up. So I gave up on real estate and life in general, to be honest with you. And I let that go for maybe 10 months, almost 11 months. And it kept getting worse, the depression and the, suicidal thoughts and everything. And then one day I'm like, you know what, this is not going to be my story. This isn't how I go out, right? Like I have more to offer to the world. I have more to offer to myself. And I said, at the time I wasn't religious. I've now found it. But at the time I was all about karma and spirituality. And I said, you know what, if I put the energy into the universe will give it back to me, right? If I just blindly and faithfully do the work, somehow the money will show up. Because I didn't have money to write the test. The test was like $125. I didn't have the $125 to write the test if I even finished the course, right?
Wow.
Anyway, so I said that and I finished a chapter and a half that day. There's only 10 chapters. So I finished, almost 20% of the course in one day. And the next day, I think my uncle that I haven't talked to like realistically in almost 20 years calls me out of the blue. Shawn, uncle, what's going on? Right. He said, hey, I was talking to your mom and your mom said that you're getting into real estate. I go, well, I'm working on it. I'm trying. Right. And he said, oh, okay. Well, is there anything I can help you with? I'm like, yeah, money, actually. And he goes, oh, is that all that's holding you back? And I'm like, I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm like, fighting. I'm like, yeah, money's the only thing holding me back. Right. And he goes, well, I'll tell you what. He goes, anything you need real estate, just put it on my credit card. And he gave me his credit card.
Wow.
I'm like, are you sure? Because it's all going on your credit card, right? And he said, yeah, if it's real estate related, no problem. And this is a guy that I hadn't talked to literally like randomly, like every fifth birthday or something like that. You know what I mean? There was no really. But somehow, some way he talked to my mom, and somehow, some way she told him that I was trying to get into real estate, even though I gave up, right, as far as my family was concerned. And so he ended up paying for my test and then the next part of the course and then my next test. And then I didn't realize this, but when you get licensed, you have to pay a year's worth of dues, which is $2,000. And I remember calling him like, hey, like it's like $2,000 now. I was like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, I said, anything real estate, put it on the card. So I did. And so the universe, and now I know God,
delivered almost like an angel to you, just to,
the next day.
It knew like to push you in that direction, that somebody turned up to take care of that. So then you can start that journey.
The very next day, imagine that though. Like the day I put in the work, the next day I get that phone call. Right. So, and there's clues like, they leave, like the universe and God, they leave clues that you're on the right path, and you got to be just watching out for them. And every time when you get that clue, like, oh, you're doing the right thing, you got to triple and quadruple down on it. Right.
Yeah.
So
you actively believe in it. I do as well. I talk about it on my YouTube channel, 100%. Sense signs, 1111 lets me know that I am on the right path and to keep going and to do more of what I'm already doing.
Yeah,
so really
I see you. I remember we talked about this, but I remember seeing you actively manifesting, because people don't really realize how manifesting works. But I remember you going to expensive neighborhoods and expensive shops where you shouldn't have been and you couldn't afford to be, but you're like, I need to be around these people and this energy. And then now I look at you and you're flying first class. You're buying your clients and friends Gucci flip-flops for their birthday and stuff like that. Right? Like imagine 3 years ago, you couldn't buy Gucci nothing. Right. It probably wouldn't let you in the store. Right. And now look, it's a gift that you can give. Right. So you actively manifested, and I watched you do it, and it was amazing. Cool to see.
That's interesting. I love hearing about other people's relationship with that thing. And as I say, like whether it's God or universe, whatever everyone calls it different things, but so interesting that you say that you feel it and then you go harder in that direction. Amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All in. As soon as you get that sign, that's not the sign to take your foot off the gas and be like, I'm doing the right thing. That's the sign to hit the throttle and I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Totally
interesting. Do you talk to your agents about that, like that, or is it all like tangible stuff?
Yeah. So do you want me to get into that part?
Well, you can do, I guess, like, because I'm interested, like, because some people like do not believe in that whatsoever. They just like, and I know that it's so polarizing, because some people just cannot fathom that. They cannot even consider it. They're like, no, you're winning because you're putting in the work. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm putting in, like, I don't even really try anymore. And I just do the right things in the right places and doors open for me.
Yeah. But that's because you've moved into your subconscious, right? Like that's when it becomes easy and you don't even think about it. That's because you've moved it from here to here. You've moved it into your subconscious because you've obsessed about it for so long, and you've given it 100% of everything you are for so long. You've forced that. And now you can't even help but dream about it and sleep about it. And everything, all you do is see it, right? Yeah. And that's, you push that there. So yeah, it's same like you could push the opposite there. People are like, oh, I never win. I've got the worst luck. I've got the this. You've pushed that there. You've done that, right?
Yeah, interesting.
So
let's come to the agents when we start talking about your team and whether this is something you actively talk about. But yeah, so you were able to then do the tests with the funds, and then how long did it take you to pass?
Instantly, 2 weeks. So I had the whole thing done in 2 weeks. And like the test is, I got like 97% on one and 95 or 94 on the other one. So like it's not like it's a difficult test, right? So for anybody looking to do the real estate test, don't let the test scare you from anywhere. And anybody I've ever talked to, it's every place is easy, unfortunately. Yeah. So then I got licensed, and then, yeah. So I signed up. My uncle happened to be at EXP at the time, and I was not even really looking for brokerages because I didn't care. I just needed to get done the test. I always do whatever step is in front of me. And he helped pay for everything. So I'm like, you know what? At least I could pay him back because he showed me how it works with the downline and everything. I'm like, oh, like at least I could pay you back through the downline because I ain't got no money to pay you.
Oh, your uncle was in real estate. So anything that real estate related, he was like, put it on the card.
Yeah. Yeah. He was in real estate.
Yeah,
He's been a
yeah,
realtor
yeah.
for like 40 years. Yeah. So my uncle, amazingly enough, so he's like almost 80, no social media whatsoever. And his business was built 40 years ago. So he couldn't help me with anything real estate, but he helped me get to real estate, if that makes sense. And he's from Arizona. Actually, if you can believe it, my uncle was with Glenn Sanford, the CEO of EXP. He was with him like 5 years before there was EXP. So he was in the initial concept of how it was made. Like he was in that table of people directing, which, yeah, like he was showing me like emails and stuff back and forth from like 20 years ago and 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh shit, like you really had a part to play. In it. Yeah, well, he opened Canada. So my uncle is the one who actually is responsible for opening Canada for EXP, and India. He opened India.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah, so cool stuff. But anyways, so when I joined, that was my sponsor. And as much as he wanted to, he just didn't have the capacity and the capability of helping me with sales because it just he'd been in the business for too long, right?
Yeah.
So, which I find with a lot of people, if you've been in the business for too long, you're just repeat and referral, and you can't teach somebody new repeat and referral. You have to
because you haven't got that past, experience.
Yeah. So what happened is I remember I sat down with the mentor, which there's only one at the time. And so we sat down as forced, and you had to pay them 20% of your first 3 deals was the situation. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm paying this person 20% plus the brokerage fees, but if I'm paying them, I need good value, right? I need to learn how to sell houses. And you got to remember, I was desperate. I was broke. I was ready to sell a house that day instantly. I was a bouncer at a nightclub, right?
Yeah. And I just heard on your training, you were like, if I needed to sell a home today, this is what I would do. And that just resonates. Yeah, right. It's today, right? Yeah. So anyway, so we sat down, and we're sitting for breakfast, and I'm like, just so you know, you're paying for this, right? Because like if I'm paying, I ain't eating. Like I don't have this money to pay. I have $0. And so we're sitting for breakfast, and I'm like, okay, listen, I need to sell a house today, like right now. I'm like, what can I do today? Because whatever you tell me, I'm going to get up and I'm going to leave this table and I'm going to go do it, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And I started in March. So they're like, okay, well, the number one thing you could do is a pumpkin drive. I'm like, what is that? In March, yeah, but I'm like, in October, and they're like, yeah, so you can build your name in the community and hand out pumpkins and meet and shake hands and whatever. I'm like, October, 6 months away. Yeah, and I go, and where am I going to procure these pumpkins? I go, like, do I steal them? Like, do I grow them myself? I'm like, I ain't got no money, I can't pay for them, right? I go, okay, well, that's no good, I can't do that. It's okay. What's your second idea? Strategy. And they go, oh, well, you could sit at a coffee shop and you could talk in a community where you want to work and talk to people coming and going. And I'm like, I don't think you understand the level of broke I'm talking. I can't buy a coffee, right? Like I have no money. I'm not eating, right? I go, I can't just sit at a coffee shop without purchasing anything and harass the people coming and going for real estate. I go, that makes no sense to me, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm good. I don't need the third advice. I'm going to go to the broker and tell them I'm not doing the mentor. So I do. I went to the broker, and I'm like, this doesn't work for me. I'm not doing the mentor thing. And they're like, well, you have no choice. I'm like, okay, cool. I quit. They're like, what? I'm like, I quit. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like I refuse to be led by somebody that's giving me this advice. Like, it's just no, right? I'm like, I'm literally do or die. And urgency. Yeah. So, and we'll get to that part of the story later. So then the broker finally agrees, and he says, okay, you're on your own then. I'm like, okay, good. Right. I'm fucking used to it. So then we have EXP World, which has like 60 hours of live training a week. So I log into EXP World, and if you haven't seen it, it's like Sims. Like you build a little character, and there's an island with a campus, and you walk around or whatever. So I log in, and there's a front desk, and I go to the person at the front desk. I'm like, hey, I'm Shawn. I'm brand new. I guess you could see my little name above my head, but I need to sell a house today. I go, where do I go to sell houses today? And they're like, oh, you're brand new. You got to go take the boats for a ride. I'm like, boats for what the fuck are you talking about? And then she points over to a little thing.
And she's like, there's boats and you could drive around the island and it's cool and it's fun. I'm like, this is so fucking stupid. So I logged out. Right. So now we're a virtual brokerage. So I have no brokerage to go to. I have no mentor and I have no training and I have no upline support or teams. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. And I'm broke. Right. I'm literally getting foreclosed on. My vehicle is getting repossessed. Like you could not have a worse start in real estate. And my city where I'm in, we are on the back of a 6-year recession. So like home prices and sales were fucking horrible. Like literally everything was stacked against me.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just sat down and I Googled, how do I sell a house today? Just fucking put it in Google. And I started watching. And so I saw the activities I was supposed to do. So like door knocking, warm calls, cold calls, all the stuff, right? I started watching and I'm like, okay, I see the activities, but all the stuff that was presented to me or that I found, I didn't like the way that it was. Really transactional, really pushy, a little too aggressive for my style. And I'm service and value based. And that's how I wanted to build my business, right? And I just wasn't interested in being that pushy person. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I go, these are the activities I have to do, but I don't see a strategy of how to do them. So I'm just going to do them. Right.
Yeah. Do them my way. Put my little spin on them.
Well, not even a little spin. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I go, I'm just going to do them and I'm going to learn.
Yeah, see how we go.
There was no spin. There was like, okay. So like one of them was door knocking. So I remember I went and I knocked on my first door and I had no plan. Like literally I was 100% action. So knock on the door. Yeah. The person answers. They go, hello. Right. I'm like, shit. I wasn't really expecting this to happen. And they're like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I'm a realtor. Do you want to sell your house? Just straight up. You want to sell your house today? No, thank you. Like, okay, thank you. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. I'm like, okay, now let's develop a strategy from there.
Yeah. You learn from every failure.
And then, that was the door knocking strategy. And then the other one was warm calls. So my first listing came, I got 4 days in, I got my first listing, $1.3 million from a warm call.
Wow.
And the warm calls were just checking up on people. And then obviously the conversations led to real estate. And I got fired from that listing 3 weeks later because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Right. So anyways, that's how I started. And it was a long, very difficult road. And all I did was work. And yeah, I'll tie this all in. I promise. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. I like it because you don't hear the details and stuff, like,
yeah, the actual struggles, right?
Because it's such an amazing story because I know where you're at now, and anyone watching this maybe doesn't yet. And, and it goes to show that, people could maybe have as bad a start and still go. And this is the whole point of me creating this resource online is so people can hear other people's stories. We just had another guy, Jake, and he said exactly the same thing. His first lease was, abysmal. He didn't know what he was saying. He went to a friend and thankfully, they kind of walked through it together. And it's just like, you can, fail forward and fail fast and get to a point where then you can get a listing within 4 days, lose it, and then, go on to build the business that you have.
Yeah. And the thing is too, what you said there is moving fast. What I think a lot of people don't understand is if you treat your business like you treat it like exercising. So, right, like let's say you want to do push-ups. So let's say you want to do 100 push-ups in a day. Well, if you do one push-up every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes, whatever it is, you'll still get your 100 push-ups in a day. But will you get stronger? Not really. You're not stressing the system. You're not pushing past your limits and your capacity. You're just kind of doing it, right? Whereas if you do 100 push-ups at one time, that will force the body to break and grow, right? So with your business, same thing. You don't knock one door or 10 doors or 20 doors. Knock hundreds of doors. Make hundreds of calls in a very short amount of time. And that will cause your system to break and be able to actually help you grow, right? And this will answer your question about my agents and how I train them and mindset. Yeah. So I'll tie this in a minute here. So I started doing the things and started doing the activities. And I remember reaching out to some realtors and I'm like, hey, I'm starting cold calling. Like, do you want to sit together and we'll do cold calls? I'm like, I'm not really interested in cold calls. No. Hey, I'm going out door knocking. Like, it's kind of lonely. Like, why don't you come out and we'll door knock together and we'll get some deals together, whatever. No, I'm not interested. So even though I reached out to people, nobody, like not one time did anybody agree to do anything with me. So I was just doing it by myself with no guidance, no scripts, no structure, just learning. I remember, and this is getting into like the suicide part. My life had kept getting worse because I hadn't sold any houses. I was running out of money. Now I was paying real estate fees that I couldn't pay. I was boring for my friends and family. It was getting darker and deeper into depression. And at that time, I remember, and hopefully my mom's watching, she always gets upset about this, but yeah, I tried 2 times. I tried to kill myself at that time, right? So, I was sitting there, and my thing was to jump off a balcony, and I was on the other side and leaning back and just holding, and I just wanted to let go, and I kept, honestly, with my niece and my nephew, I just kept picturing them at my funeral, right? And just splattered, and I'm like, okay, like that's the reason why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I would rather be dead than alive at that time of my life. And 2 times I was on the wrong side of the balcony, and 2 times, thanks to God, I didn't jump.
Mm.
And I remember I was putting out open house signs one day, and I made a deal with myself. I said, I'm going to give everything I have, every single ounce of everything I am. I'm going to give it to this business, and I'm going to make no excuses. I'm going to take no days off. I'm going to do no sleep. I'm going to give it all. And if by December 31st, 2019, I go, if I'm not happy and I'm not moving towards success, I said, I don't have to be rich, but if I'm not moving in the right direction, then I will go through with it. And I wrote that on my calendar. So that was my day I was supposed to die. It was December 31st, 2019. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, I get a little choked up, but it was do or die for me.
Bro, this is fucking real life shit. This ain't like a docusoap. This is, real emotions, and like going from the beginning, and and you wanting to make it so badly, and just things not going your way.
Yeah. Oh fuck. The amount of times that life slapped me down during those, like I could go on for fucking hours.
Yeah.
How many times that I got slapped and punched and kicked by life at that time. And but I made that deal with myself. I said, if you put in every ounce of every, you still can't do it, that means you're not supposed to. And then you can, finally end the pain. So I worked like crazy, man. Like I truly worked like crazy. And all of a sudden I started getting good at things, right? I started stacking skills. I started understanding customer behaviors. The conversations got easier, and I started converting deals. And I remember, like, not a lot long, a couple months later, I did 17 deals in 1 month, right? So it's pretty good for a rookie, right? 17 deals in 1 month.
What do you think that was? Just the reps, the fact that you've got, put so much work in and just failed forward, failed fast, failed forward to the point that you then started to get more yeses?
Well, there's a volume of work, right? And then the conversations. So what happens is, like today when I teach my people, they go door knocking, they say knock 50 doors. I said, okay, that's good. I go, I was knocking 300, but like 50 is good in a day, right? And I'm like, how many warm calls? Yeah, right. I go, cute, but you want to kind of up that a bit. Yeah, like the door knocking and then the warm calls. I go, like, how many warm calls you make today? None. I'm like, well, how many warm calls you make this week? None. Okay, well, I made them every day, right? I go, how much time did you spend on social media DMing people and growing your sphere and starting conversations? I got none. I'm like my thumbs, and this is how I know that people would do it. First, the pads of your thumb would get sore, and then the first knuckle would actually start to get sore from messaging so many people all the time. And like just the volume of conversations that I was having thousands of conversations a week, and it just turned into deals, right? Like that's all it is. It's just conversations, right? Turning into referrals. So I did 17 deals in that month, and they were all listings, right? So I didn't even have money for those listings. So I had to borrow money again. Right. It's another story. But to get those listings up, and then they all sold, thankfully, most of them anyways. And the 17 closed ones did so. Yep. And then
how much money did that bring in to the point that you were flat broke to 17 deals?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is they don't pay out right away, right? So they pay out over the next 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And I was so far in debt, like I was well over 6 figures in debt. So anytime, yeah. So, and that's to the bank, plus probably 30 or 40,000 that I owed friends and family. Right. So anytime I got paid, I didn't get paid. It just went to the black void. Right. So, I was like at Money Mart and all that kind of, I don't know if you guys have those, but like, those 30% interest lenders where they give you money. Like I was like in just the worst places you could borrow money. I was getting money.
Yeah.
I did all those deals, and the financial pressure came off because I knew that it was going to be okay. I'm like, I can make it another couple months, and I'm going to be at least even, and then I could start moving forward with my life. Right. So the financial pressure came off, but the depression didn't actually.
Yeah.
It got worse because I'm like, wow, like the financial pressure is not quite there anymore, but I still feel bad, and I still feel like a failure, and I still feel not good inside, right? And I remember, so this is November 17th, right? You can go back in my post and you'll see my post. And I put it out there. I said, for anybody that's struggling with real estate or new or just want to know how to do it, I go, I don't know everything, but I know this. I know I just did 17 deals in 1 month and I know how I got them. I go, so I'm going to just put this out there for anybody that wants it. I had 4 people sign up. And I don't think, well, actually, I do know they know because I've had these conversations with them, but those 4 people saved my life.
Wow.
Because I was still depressed and that was part of my deal. I go, if I'm not happy, then that's it, right?
But then as soon as it came to giving back and somebody else being the focus, then it was like you were giving that energy.
Yeah. So what happened is I started this course. So it's the 5-day training that I give now. And what happened is 4 people signed up to learn what I knew, which, I was like fucking a few months in the business. So what did I know? Right. And I remember so they signed up and I'm like, okay, cool. We'll start tomorrow. I didn't have a course. I didn't have anything written out, right? I had nothing. And so that night I sat down, I'm like, okay, well, what was the most important things about my business that led me to those deals, right? And I go, 100% was mindset. And this is to answer your question now. I go, 100% was mindset above everything. So day 1 of my training is all mindset. The whole thing is mindset and strategy and just being able to have the mental toughness to do this business. And so that was day 1. And then everybody loved it and they were super happy. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's do day 2 then, right? So then the next day was day 2. And I sat down the night before and I'm like, okay, where did I get most of my deals from? I'm like, okay, door knocking and open houses. I'm like, so there's day 2. And then everybody loved it and they were super happy. And this is over a black Zoom, no video because you have to pay for the video, no presentation, no spreadsheets. It was basically a conference call. And then, so then the 3rd day, I'm like, what else is important in the 4th day? And then on the 4th day, because I wrote, I would do the session and then that night I would do next session. So on the 4th day, I gave them all my social media stuff. And then everyone's coming back for day 5 and I had no more stuff. I'm like, oh shit. I go, we're done. Right. But everybody's coming back tomorrow for the next session. So I'm like, oh, I got a really unique, different listing presentation because I'd watched like hundreds of listing presentations on YouTube, right? And none of them are anywhere near what I do. And I'm like, let me just give them my listing presentation and then we'll call it a day. So I give them the listing presentation and everybody at the end of the day is like, okay, cool. Like, are we back tomorrow? I'm like, no, that's it. They're like, that's it. I'm like, that is my whole business. Like everything I know, I just gave it to you guys. And everybody was so happy and so grateful and so thankful of the information because now they're like, now we know what to do. We know every single day what we got to do to get up, what we got to do in the morning, the afternoon, everything is structured. And their gratitude and gratefulness is what started to fill my cup. And I started feeling way better about myself. I'm like, wow, I actually helped somebody, right?
Felt valuable.
Yeah. So it was 5 weeks away from not being here anymore, and randomly for no reason at all, just deciding to help people. It started filling my cup, and then for the next 18 months, so for a year and a half, every single week I ran that training live every week, and I was doing it 3 times a day because I would do it a Eastern, a Central, and a Western time zone session, and I had over 2,000 people come through. And we had over 2,000 people come through in those 18 months, and not a single one of them paid a single dollar. Nobody was pitched anything. Nobody signed up for anything. And I remember people used to ask me, like, why don't you pre-record this? Why don't you sell it or whatever? And I said, I can't. I said, because the value to me isn't in the money. The value to me is in Friday, day 5, where I get everybody's gratitude and thankfulness that I changed their life and their business. And it's filling my cup and it's saving my life. I go, so I'm actually doing it for Friday is what I'm doing this for. I'm not doing it for anything else. So that's why when you talk about, do I cover that stuff with my agents? I cover it every single day because I think it's the most important part of any business is being mentally tough and having the attitude and the manifestation and all that stuff to move forward every day during the tough times. So 20-minute answer to your one question.
No, but yes. It was so, it's so worth it because a lot of people, they don't understand the whole universe thing. And I speak about it. And I honestly, one thing I'm being guided, and 2, I think I co-create. And like you, I do deals with it and say, if you gift me with this, then I will, and hence why I give so much, because I almost feel like this isn't for me. This is for everyone else. Like, bringing you guys on to come and coach our clients, I, get to pay you guys, and then I get to learn as a byproduct of that. Like it's almost like the ultimate giving, but also a little bit of selfishness as well. So it's like the surroundings and the first class flights, and like taking the team to Philippines, for example. I got like a walkout pool so they could enjoy it. It's like I do all of this for everybody else, but I just get to enjoy it as a byproduct of it. So it's like the ultimate selflessness, but at the same juncture, you get to experience these things as well. And
absolutely. You all went together, man. And you should share the wins with your people. Absolutely.
Definitely. What do you like most about being in real estate? So like you've now got to a point, so like year one. So I guess you did those 17 deals in 1 month. In 1 month. And then kind of where did you finish your first year?
44 deals my first year. Yeah, 38 listings in a community in a situation where the average days on market was literally 3 years. Like I'm not even joking. So now they say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days on market is average. Back then, our economy was so beaten up. People would list their house, take it down, list their house, take it down, and they would do it for years until it finally sold.
Wow.
So I desperately wanted buyers, and I couldn't get them because the way that I do my business was literally just listings. I know everyone's desperate to get listings, but back then I'm like, I don't get the money for listings. I go, listings don't sell. I go, I just somehow, some way get a buyer, and I couldn't get no buyers that first year. So yeah, all listings. So 44 my first year, and then 102 my second year, and then 186 my third year deals.
That's amazing. And at what point, what year was it where you then decided to start growing a team?
My 11th month in the business, so my first year.
Wow.
So what happened is I just started getting way too busy, and I couldn't handle the deal flow, and I couldn't handle the business. And so I put it out there. I just said, hey, I'm going to start a team. You have to have like a production qualifier to start a team at EXP as well. So like you just can't start a team if you want to start a team. Like you actually have to be at a certain level. Can't remember what it was. I think it's a decent amount though. It's like $10 million in 6 months or something like that of volume and 30 deals. I don't know, you can Google it, but it's a decent amount actually, which is like, I like that. It's respectable that you can't just start a team because you want to.
Yeah.
So anyways, I put it out there. I'm going to start a team. And this one guy reached out to me, Gabber. I say his name wrong all the time. Gabor. And he's like, wow, you're starting a team? Yeah. He goes, you're starting a team? He goes, I'm in. I'm like, oh shit, that was fast. I go, like, I'm not really ready for this, right? I go, I thought it was going to take some time and whatever. So he joined. And here's the crazy thing is, so I was hoping that he was just going to take some deal flow from, and he's been a realtor for 4 years, right? So I'm like, perfect. He doesn't really need a lot of training. He doesn't need nothing. He could just help with the deals. But he was signing up because he wanted my training and my business.
Yeah, he wanted the mentorship.
Yeah. So what happened is I actually took on more work and more stress than less because he wanted to get trained every day. Right. So I'm like, okay, well, like we're doing this now. Right. And I remember, so at this time, I was still going through my autoimmune stress disease, right? I don't know if you saw that, but like I
remember you saying it started to manifest in your body physically, the kind of stress and the depression and the negative energy.
Yeah. So I was so stressed about everything in my personal life, my relationships, everything was falling apart. So it just kept getting worse. And I still wasn't financially okay, right? I'd done the deals and the money was coming, but I still wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And so he signed on and we did mostly Zooms because this was COVID times. And then I remember I went to go meet him the first time to take him out door knocking in person for the first time. And we've been, Zoom buddies for a month or so at that time. And I go to pick him up and he's got 3 kids, a stay-at-home wife that does homeschooling. And the kids had written in chalk over the whole driveway, EXP Shawn Getty, the whole driveway. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I didn't realize, but this guy put his whole family on my shoulders. Right. And it's funny. We'll see if he watches this because I don't think he knows about this part yet. But this is when I was going through my hives with the autoimmune disease. Right. So I was getting hives all over my body. My heart was shutting down. My lungs were shutting down. I was literally dying. Like I was literally dying inside.
Shutting down.
physically. Yeah. And I was going to the doctors and they couldn't figure it out. I had tubes and cameras down everywhere and tests. And I was in fucking glass boxes breathing and like all this stuff. And they couldn't figure it out. And so then I picked this guy up and his kids come out and they give me like cookies that they bake me and everything. And he sits down and he's like, okay, let's go door knocking. And I'm like, I don't think you understand that you just put the whole weight of your family and your life on my shoulders. And I go, I'm not ready for this. And I wasn't. So that shot my anxiety and stress through the roof because now I've got two people, myself and this person and his family, counting on me. And it made it so much worse.
Yeah.
It made it so much worse. The hives and everything got so bad after that. And I'm like, I have to make this guy successful. So he got 100% of my attention, which now people understand is not such a good thing. It's much better that my attention is spread out amongst several people. But every morning, I remember I'd call him. He's like, I'm not a morning person. I'm like, well, you are now, 7:00 every morning. And I'd call him and I'd call him and I'd call him. And then eventually started putting his phone on do not disturb. So if you call twice, it gets through to do not disturb. I'm like, dude, you're waking up. I go, we're going to work, right? And he goes, I'm going to start turning my phone off. I go, I'm going to start fucking knocking on your door. I go, I will be there at 7:00 in the morning to pick your ass up and we're going to work. And so anyways, I don't want to share too much of his numbers, but he was not a financially successful realtor after 4 years when he met me. And I think he did just over 200,000 his first year with me, which is pretty good.
Amazing. And was that the first time that you saw what you did was duplicable? And then you were able then to kind of start to instill that, because you've done this on numerous occasions now. So that it sounds like he was your first kind of, protege. And we've already had Max on as well, who's, famously or infamously, and the bromance that continues in the competition. But so you went from that one agent. And I was going to say, kind of, as you started to get busier and having more agents in your team, how does that affect, one, the dynamics of the team, but two, how does it affect the dynamics of your business of then having to, share your time with, numerous different people, not just the first one and his family, but also, other people coming into your business. Because I guess once it gets out that you're making this guy a success just by kind of, installing these habits and these things that you've learned, then of course, then other people are going to, want a part of it.
Oh yeah, lots, always. So like I've had like a bunch of different versions of the team now, like different structures and setups and whatever. And I think we've refined it pretty well now to the version we're on today. But one thing that's always been a core value of mine is I still don't like traditional team setups. I just, I can't speak to all of them, but I feel that they're very selfish and self-serving for the most part, where it's a team lead that'll generate leads, teach the person how to work those leads, and never teach them anything else, because the better that they get at working those leads, the better ROI for the team lead. And, for some people, that's great because that's all they want to do is, work the phones and, a couple customers and pay that 50% split forever. But for me, even this version of the team today, it has always been my goal to have people on for 1 year at the most, like 2 years if it's absolutely necessity. But 1 year, learn everything, and then leave me is the goal, and leave me to stand on their own 2 feet, right? And so for me, I train them on how to build their own business. So I teach them literally everything. It starts with mindset. That's the number one thing we teach. And then I teach them how to prospect their own business, right? Like I heard some teams, they won't even let people work an open house because they don't want them getting those open house deals, right? They want them only working the internet leads. And I'm like, you can't go on your own at that point. And then for me, you can't feel good about yourself or good about your business because you're stuck, right? Yeah. So this version of the team. So actually, we'll rewind. So my last version, I went from 0 agents to 26 agents in 6 weeks. That's very fast. Yeah.
6 weeks. So how did that happen?
I just opened the doors. Like I get people all the time messaging me for it.
Yeah.
And like if I could be at 50 or 60 agents if I had the bandwidth and capacity, I don't, right? And it's because of the way that I do things. So that last one. So I knew I had to shut down my own production and stop selling completely and give 100% attention to them and their business. And I didn't have the systems in place. I didn't have the processes. I didn't have stuff pre-recorded. I didn't have templates, right? So it was all me and two team leads that were like max, right? And we were helping them hand to hand on everything, and it didn't work out well. So it ended up costing me about $500,000 is what it cost me when you factor in production and cost,
Yeah,
production
cool.
lost and cost. So I shut the team down because I was going broke again, right? And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I just pulled myself out of this. Now I'm living a good life. I can do vacations. I'm no longer financially stressed. Everything is good at this point when I started that version of the team. And now all of a sudden I see my money leaving me. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going back towards broke quickly. I'm like, this is not good. So I let the whole team go, got rid of everybody. Some left, some I fired. But we let everybody go. I went down to zero. And I'm like, I better start my own production again. And I did. And that's funny. That's when Max wanted to go toe to toe with me because he'd been a year now. And he's like, oh, you're back in production. He's like, I'm like, okay, man, let's go. Right. And so anyways, we competed for that year. And then a few months ago, I had an agent reach out to me and they wanted to come and join the Getty group. I'm like, well, the Getty group doesn't really exist anymore, right? It's just the downline. I have everything you need is in the downline. I do sales meetings every day. I have training, I have pre-recorded stuff. We have our scripts and our process. It's all there for you. And then she's like, well, no, like I want more personalized stuff. I'm like, well, I can't do that unless there's a split. And I go, I'm not even taking the split for me. I'm taking it because if I give you all the time and attention, I know I'm going to suffer. Right. So, and I can't do that again. Because like, imagine getting slapped for $500,000.
No, of course. Yeah, 100%. And your time is money at that point, especially if you're doing 100 plus per year, you then start dedicating that time for somebody else. It's like when somebody wants to like take me for coffee or pick my brain. And it's like, well,
I hate that. I hate that. That's my,
I get that all the time because now
two
people
lines.
now they want to know what I'm doing. It's like, well, I was blocked 2 years ago and you thought I was crazy doing star jumps in my front room. Like, which one is it? You want the guy that's doing the star jumps or you want the one that's living in a penthouse? So
that's right. Yeah. And that's exactly what it was so many times, can I take you for coffee and pick your brain? I go, sure. And I actually made a website where I charge people now. And I go, yeah, sure. And I just send them the link and it's 650 US an hour if they want my hour. And like, oh, whoa, I got to pay that. I'm like, that's at a discount.
yeah, of course.
If you want my
I could be out there making the magic happen.
Yeah, if you want my actually hourly rate, I go, that's going to be a little bit more even, right? I go, I'm just, you don't get me for a coffee no more. Yeah, so I got hurt bad when that team folded, right? Like emotionally, it was a bit, ego was a huge hit folding that.
Of course.
And that was very close to a knockout punch. Like it hurt. It hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was relatively quiet for a couple months after that. As far as me as a person, my production, I was picking up my production because I was this last year. So the production was fine, but me as a person, that hurt. And I think, not to stroke my own ego, but this is just a testament of a leader and of a person is, it's not how high you go, it's how hard you get hit and the ability to get back up. And that was just another knockout blow that, thanks to God, I got back up. Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, this other agent reached out and they said they want more help. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to do the team thing then. Right. So then I structured the team set up a little bit differently. And I had a declining commission split, whereas they get better, they pay me less. And it was just one person. And then another person reached out, like, oh, you're starting a team. Like, can I get on the team? Like another and another and another. And then all of a sudden I look up, I'm at 15 people again. And I didn't even try. Like I honestly, I didn't even, I'm only.
But again, it's the universe. You made a deal with it in the beginning of sharing your knowledge with other people, which you found that value in. And whilst it didn't work out the first time, the universe is then sending you that same thing for you to get it right this time.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So, here I am. Like, I don't post that we're hiring. I don't run ads. I don't like literally strictly through people showing up in my DMs and wanting to be on the team is how I built it up again. And if I truly wanted to, like, if I opened it up like what other people do, I'd have probably 35 to 50 just right now today, but I can't. And the reason why is because I go on everything with everybody. So these guys all have access to my calendar and they book me in for all their showings, all their listing presentations, whatever they're doing. If my spot is empty, because I put my own stuff in, if my spot is empty, they just fill me up. And so 7 days a week. Yeah.
Well, hence why you were 10 or 15 minutes late for this, because you said after the meeting, literally, I had to then check in with them because they all wanted to have that one-to-one time. So that's testament that you're, supporting people adequately.
Yeah, well, as much as I can, right?
Yeah,
As
of course. Yeah. There's only
them if
24
they
hours
feel
in
it's
a day.
adequate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, and then that's how I want to run my team. Is I want to be super personable, be super hands-on, be super intimate, and I want these people to live, breathe, and have and exude success. And I can't do that unless I'm hands-on with them. And I go, come with me and bring me. It's not that you can't close a deal on your own. You're more than capable of closing a buyer. Like people close them all the time, right? But the way that I do it is going to be different. So if you bring me with you on your appointment, you're going to pick up little nuances, ways that I phrase things, certain questions that I ask, certain ways that I direct a conversation. And that's why you just listen. When I'm with you, you just listen. It's not that I'm sitting here to critique you or
No.
that you need help closing the deal. This is your education, hands-on in the field education. And then once you're comfortable with it, then we'll still go out and then you do it. And then when you're doing it, I can help and critique and guide in this. And then within a year, you shouldn't need me anymore. And you should be able to do this on your own. And you'll be, I call it a conversation assassin, where any single conversation, you are in control 100% because you've learned the skills to do that.
Yeah. Amazing. That's really interesting. So it's like you bring them along for the ride. It's almost like, when somebody's teaching you how to ride a bike and they've got the stabilizers on, and then, little bit by little bit, you just take those stabilizers away and off they go.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's why, like, I love you and your business. And like, that's why we use your leads. And the leads for me are there to like subsidize their income while they're building the skills in the community. But once they build the skills in the community, they can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like we're like extremely hands-on. Whereas I think most, from when I look around, it's here's your leads. Did you follow up with this person? Did you convert this? Did you this? Where's your follow-up? Blah, 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 blah. And for me, it's like, yeah, for me, there's accountability for sure, but it's about posting and about growth and about education and about truly getting 1% better in your business every day.
Interesting. And I found that, across the board, especially with our power partners, that the more successful the real estate agent or team leader, it's because they are massive givers. And that's really what's echoed today,
Yeah, it's all for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Super interesting, man. And I guess what I really like personally, as I said to you previously, as you've kind of gone from 44 deals to, what was it, 102 and then 144, how has your life changed? Because I noticed that, you've been in the pods on the planes now, and you've been talking to your team about it. How have you found where you've been that person that was in that dark hole, that was suicidal, really felt like we're in a rut and you could not shake it? You got knocked down time and time and time again, to the point that now you don't need to worry about money. You can, jet off to Hawaii for Max's birthday and being able to treat your parents, to first class flights and stuff. Kind of, how have the problems changed from maybe, we call it pot noodle. You guys call them ramen noodles.
Yeah.
To being able to eat out whenever you want, etc., and the problems that you have now as a seven-figure earner, but also a team leader. How have those problems changed, and what changes do you think that you've made kind of psychologically to allow you to sustain that kind of success?
Yeah, more money, more problems, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So no, honestly, for me, yeah, like it's been amazing. Like it's truly been amazing. And I encourage everybody to get rich. And I encourage everybody to make as much money as they possibly can, and to do it with kindness and humbleness in mind. And what happens is when I find money's an enhancer, right? From what I've been able to see. And if you're a good person with money, you can do great things. So, but you can't do anything without it, right? Like you need to get the money first.
And a lot of people, they, even talking about getting rich, like, will trigger some people, like, oh, how dare you? People can't fathom it. Where it's like, I've now started to actively call myself rich or trying to build wealth. And it irks a lot of people, especially people that maybe I've grown up with. And now they can't fathom, like, the fat kid from Kentish Town is now smashing it, living in a penthouse. And like, I guess they try and draw correlations of where we've come from the same place, but now are maybe on different paths. but you're right. It's almost like, you know, we traditionally see the Hollywood misers of, you know, Scrooge, or, you know, the negative connotations about the rich. Yeah. And so it's really empowering to hear you speak about it positively, and for it not to be a dirty word, because so many people like give it that I don't know, that almost like it's crass, especially in Britain, you know, because we're all so reserved, where US and Canada, they're so much more open about, you know, finance, and a bit more kind of open emotionally about wealth and getting rich or being rich. So it's really empowering to hear that.
Yeah, but it's right in the foundation of our core as humans. Like if you go right to the Bible, right? They say, move forth and multiply, be prosperous, and go into the land of milk and honey. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be successful, right? We're not supposed to be suicidal and depressed and struggling for food and money and things. And yeah, and I can tell you, like, some of the things that I've been able to do, and some of the like so like my parents, right? They had a horrible anniversary, their 25th year anniversary, and it was COVID, and they got stuck in like a trailer in the middle of summer, and there was like no air conditioning, and they ate fucking like hot dogs and beans over an open fire because we're on a fucking campsite. You know what I mean? Like it was just not good. And I remember I was sitting there, and both their birthdays and their anniversaries all within like a couple of weeks, right? So I'm sitting with them, and I go to my mom, and my mom is like an angel on earth. Like she's like you have never met a person that is this good and honest and just loves everybody, right? And but she's never had anything, right? And like money is like zero to her. Like if she has it, she wants to get rid of it. She's like, oh, I got $10. I'm like, here's $10. I'm like, Mom, I don't need $10. I'm like, just you keep it, right? So they haven't had nice things. Like my stepdad, but my, you know, the one who raised me, he's never stayed in a hotel that's not a Super 8. Like that's just where he stays, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting there, and they're talking about their anniversary, and they're like, oh, you know, maybe we'll go camping again, or we'll go to Golden or whatever, and we'll celebrate there. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, where do you want to go? And my mom's like, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, Mom, anywhere in the world, where is it? Just close your eyes and tell me. And she's like, well, we always wanted to go to Greece. And I remember a few years earlier, all of the kids were going to chip in to pay for a trip for Greece with them, right? For their anniversary. And then all of a sudden, COVID and life, and nobody had no money and everything. So I told them, I said, just pick a place, right? And I was like, Greece. I'm like, okay, perfect. I go, call your work. You're going in sick. My dad doesn't work no more. And I said, you're calling in sick and you're leaving. And she's like, no, I can't. I go, Mom, get the week off. And she's like, okay, fine. So the next day she gets the week off, and that afternoon we're on a plane, like literally that afternoon. And my parents are a little more planners than I am. So we had to go to Pearson and then to Greece, right? To Toronto and Greece. And my mom, as we get to the Toronto airport, she's like, where are we staying? I'm like, I don't know. I go, let's open the laptop and check. So we're literally in our layover booking.
Oh,
and they're looking at the hotels and the prices and stuff. And you could see my dad sweating. And he's like, I've never stayed at a place like this. He goes, I've only stayed, you know, Super 8s and, you know, like $100 a night hotels. And I go, it's okay. Like you guys are going to be fine. And so yeah, I booked them a suite with their own jacuzzi and their own pool, and it was like 1,200 euro a night for the hotel. And yeah, I told them, you guys are going to experience everything you've ever wanted. And that ended up being like a $40,000 vacation is what it ended up costing, with the flights and the hotels and the events and the things that we did. And, you know, they showed up to the room, and it's a whole suite. And they had, you know, the happy birthday for them with the champagne and the roses. And I'm like, how did you get this plan? I'm like, when you stay in nice places, they will do nice things for you quickly. Yeah. You know, if you're staying at the Super 8, maybe not. But if you're at like, you know, Ritz caliber places and Four Seasons, they'll just do it. And so that was the experience of their lifetime. You know what I mean? And it was just amazing to see, right? And then, you know, a couple months later, we're all going to Dominican. And same thing. I'm like, you know, I got a hold of their tickets, and I upgraded everybody to pods, and I paid for their hotels and everything. And it's amazing to see the people that you love and what you can do for them with money, right? Laser eye surgery. My mom needed it. I wouldn't just paid the bill. She had no idea. Right. And Yeah. Or like friends that need help. You know what I mean? Like I've had friends that are, behind on their mortgage or this, it's like one guy, $25,000. I just sent him. I said, just give it to me when you can. Right. I go this year, next year, 10 years. I don't care. Right. Just like
Yeah.
people helped me when I was down. And yeah. So no, you need to get rich and you need to do it so you can help people.
Yeah. And do you speak about like money literacy and stuff within your team, just so you
Oh
normalize?
God. Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Taxes. Make sure you fucking put money away
Oh
for
yeah, I saw
taxes.
you hired like one of the top tax advisors in real estate to come and present to the team. That's
That's right.
amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the best in the country. Right.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a good one. And then I'm huge on people being successful as people, right? So I want them all buying real estate themselves. I want them investing. I want them getting properties. And like right now, like I see an amazing opportunity, Calgary, where I am. We're gonna boom. We're gonna be one of the only places that boom in North America this year. We're just the writing's on the wall. It's gonna be so amazing. So I'm telling
Mhm.
everybody, I go, guys, this is your 5-year window to change your life forever. And I go, here's what you do. I go, you work like fucking crazy and you make an insane amount of money, as much as you possibly can, and you spend nothing. You just buy property. And if every property goes up 100,000, 200,000, whatever it's going to do, because it is going to pop. I go, the States is about to get kneecapped bad. Like they're about to go through it. And they're going to have another 2008. They've already had 2 banks fail. They got another 3 that are about to fail. They're bundling their mortgages again. You could see it. You could see it's about to collapse.
Yeah.
So I said, we are so blessed to be in a place where it's our backyard. It's where we work. We're very familiar with it. Buy properties, buy them all. Then in 3 years or 5 years or whatever it's going to be, when the States finally hits their bottom and they start to recover, go in, sell everything here and buy there. And if you can start buying millions of dollars of US real estate for hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it's going to do it again, I go, then that changes your life and your family's life forever. You are now that broken chain where there's no longer suffering, there's no longer pain. And so I tell everybody, I go, this is why we need to sell houses today, so that we can buy houses, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want them doing. I want them rich. I want everybody around me rich, all of
Yeah.
them.
I noticed Max is doing that as well. He puts his money where his
Yeah,
mouth
fucking
is.
guy bought more houses than I did last year.
Yeah, I love
About
that.
four,
It's amazing that you literally practicing what you preach. You are literally teaching other people to do what you do, not only with real estate, but also with investing in real estate, which is like the most kind of valuable asset.
That's right. Yeah, because I want them all to win around me, right? I mean, I bought more dollars worth of real estate than Max, but he bought more doors than I did last year. Yeah, bastard.
Cool, cool. And what do you enjoy about real estate? Because I know you work insanely hard, and like even that came up in Max's interview, and he says, the Gettys and the John Sires, they are doing like 70 to 80 hours a week, like. And I know you literally, every time I speak with you, or you'll be in a car, or you'll be on the way to do something. So like you are literally, the epitome of real estate. What do you enjoy most about it?
You know what's crazy? I enjoy seeing everybody else win around me. That's I know that sounds so corny and cliche, and it's like, but like for me, it's like real estate's not even hard anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like buying and selling, it's like do it in my sleep. But seeing other people come from nothing and seeing their first deal, and we have the gong when they got to ring the gong, and when I know they got a big check coming, and I know they're gonna be able to book a trip and all that kind of stuff, and I get to live that what I used to be able to live. If I get to live that through them again, that first excitement and that first everything, and that's it for me, man. So like, look at my posts, right? Like Max actually had to point this out to me because there was a flaw in my business, because I'm not perfect. But he goes, dude, nobody's posting that they're active realtors. I go, what do you mean? He goes, nobody's posting actives, nobody's posting solds, nobody's posting conditionally sells, all that stuff, right? They go, your people aren't looking like they're active. And I went and audited their accounts, and I'm like, oh shit, they're not. They're just value-based. And I forgot that when I started, I posted everything, every active, every sold, every CS, all that stuff, because I needed to look busy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then he pointed out that flaw in me and my team, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to keep going back to that dark place, and I need to keep going back to those first days, because I can't put people on step 3 when they're on step 1, right?
Yeah.
So
Do
yeah.
you find it more difficult to motivate yourself now you've got a few quid in the bank?
Because
Because now you're like, you've got that ability then to help other people through that process.
No, because you know what? It's never been like that for me, right? Like the cash is nice, you know, it's very comforting knowing I could probably go a few years without ever having to work and be okay. But honestly, for me, I was so lucky to work under a few guys that I did at the Brick. It's a furniture store out here. And they instilled so many good values and principles in me from a young age, right? Because I worked at the Brick almost my whole 20s. And yeah, so one of the things is, I'll tell you, this is a good one. So I worked under a guy named Craig Wenzel. And this is probably the best sales trainer that I've come across ever, but he was never a tech guy. He was never a video guy. So like he only worked for the Brick. He was the national sales manager. Had he put out courses and stuff like that, they'd be Tony Robbins level, right? Like it's just incredible. And I got to work with this guy hands-on, which is amazing. So one of the stories that he told us, and he always had a paper, like a coil ring binder, no computer, no nothing, right? Hated the stuff. So coil ring binder, and you go through his notes and he'd always be telling us stories. And so he was telling us one time where he wanted to double his store sales when he was a store manager. And so how do you do that? You can't get extra budgeting. You can't do different deals. It's a national company, so you have to stay inside those parameters. But how do you get your sales up, right? So he said, all I'm going to do is just make sure my people are talking to people more, working more. So what he did is he got a bunch of stopwatches and he literally clocked his people. So in an 8-hour shift, have I told you the story?
I think I've heard it in some of your content. I don't think you told me it, but yeah.
Okay. So anyways, yeah, he's got everybody in a stopwatch and he's clocking how long they're talking to people, only qualifying and features and benefits. That's the only time the stopwatch is on. And that's what he called employment. He goes, you're only employed when you're qualifying and when you're giving features and benefits, right? Because at the Brick, you would do like, this couch has a microfiber cover so that it doesn't stain, so that you can keep it for your family longer, and blah, blah, blah. It's a feature benefit, right?
Yeah.
And guess how long in an 8-hour shift people were working in an 8-hour shift? Employed.
I don't know, 15 minutes?
That's what it is. Yeah. So you watched.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So people were employed for 15 minutes, right? In an 8-hour shift. So for the whole other time, they were just sitting around doing nothing or whatever, right? So he said, if I can just get them to an hour, I bet you I can double the store sales. So what he did is he trained them very well. And we had like a flyer greeting that he liked to use. So you grab the flyer, you meet someone right at the front door. For me, I was so competitive. I would meet people in the parking lot. Like I would open people's doors in the park. Hey, come on in and buy some couches, right? So, but anyways, you go through the flyer and you'd be like, hey, welcome to the Brick. How are you? Hey, good. I'm just looking. Okay, perfect. My name's Shawn. Nice to meet you. Good looking, right? Or just looking. And then they'd be like, okay, cool. Like, we'll let you know if we need you. Okay, no problem. We'll just want you to know, here's a flyer. And then you go to hand it to them. And instead of handing it, you would just turn sideways and open up. Just so you know, this is the best fridge that we got on deals right now. And then this is the best mattress. And then right. And they'd be like, listen, man, we're just looking for a TV. TVs? Oh man, let me show you the best deal we got on TVs. Then you would grab them and you start qualifying and whatever. So that was the long way to do things. He said you could do it the long way or the wrong way. And then you get features and benefits. So he got people up to an hour a day instead of 15 minutes. And he doubled his store sales because they were giving better service. They were qualifying better. So for me, when you're talking about money and everything, for me, I just want to be employed, right? That's all I care about. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about the commission. I don't care about the stuff. I go, how do I stay employed all day? And that's what my whole goal sets around. All of my targets, everything is based not on financials, not on numbers, but on employment. So how do I stay employed, which is qualifying and giving features and benefits to people who want to work with me. So yeah, so for me, like and I call it the income cap trap, right? I don't know if you heard me talk about this, right? But the income cap trap is, I noticed this again at the Brick when I was a sales manager, so not a store manager, but I was in charge of all the salespeople. And we had this thing called the SARSUM, and we printed it every day. And every day it would show their commission, right? How much they got delivered and they made. And you make like, $50 a couch, $100 for this, and your paycheck would go up every day by 50 or 200 or whatever it would go up. And I started to notice that certain people had certain lifestyles. And once they passed that commission, they didn't fucking do anything. They were useless to me. So I remember like one guy, 7,000. I remember Lalji, like I talked to him every day. Lal, $7,000 was his income cap, right? So we used to have cutoff on like the 21st, let's say, right? So the 21st, then you get paid at the end of the month. So if he'd hit $7,000 by like the 9th or the 10th, for 10 days, he was completely fucking useless to me. Wouldn't get up, wouldn't do nothing, find him wandering around outside, lying down on the beds. I'm like, dude, get up. Oh, I'm good. I got my 7,000. And so income cap trap, right? Once we hit our comfortability levels financially, we stop working. We all have it, everybody. So for me, I just don't even watch the money, right? When you say like, I got a bit of quid in the bank or dollars, right? I just don't care. It just doesn't matter to me. I go, it's the work. Right? Like last year, my goal was $1 million. And I'll stop talking because I talk in circles here. But my goal was $1 million last year. And I didn't even know I hit it. How crazy is that? I had no idea that I'd crossed the $1 million.
You just focus on the process and then the results come.
I was at the EXP con, right? The one that we were at. Yeah. And we get the badges. And I'm sitting beside Ricky Carruth, who like Ricky Carruth was like a monster in this business, right? And we're talking about this. I'm like, triple diamond, right? I'm like, what are you? Right? And I'm like, triple diamond, what's a triple diamond? I go, I know there's an A diamond, right? And then I Google it and they changed it to 1 diamond, 2 diamonds, but there was no triple. So I actually had to go and ask at the Icon booth. I go, what's a triple diamond? Because it's not on the website or anywhere. Like, oh, we just added it because it used to be over 500,000, but now we got people making over $1 million. I'm like, I made over $1 million. I'm like, can you double check? And then they looked, they're like, oh yeah, you're way over $1 million. And I'm like, I didn't even know. I had no idea that I crossed $1 million. Because
how did that make you feel?
I was pretty pumped. I was pretty happy, right? Because I hit my goal with like months to go, right?
Yeah. That was October, wasn't it? And it wasn't until end of December. Amazing.
Something like that, right? So yeah, it was, and I did that in spite of my team collapsing, and in spite of all the training that I do, and in spite of going on 15 vacations that year. Still did that, right? And it's because I just every day the work, like that, like nothing else matters to me, right? Like Max, right? If we get into some Max's stuff, but this year too, he's harassing me this year, right? And he already knows. But last year, he's like, "How many deals you at? How many deals you at?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. I just don't know." He's like, "Come on, you know." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know how many deals I'm at." He's like, "Check, I'm at 12. I'm at 12. I'm fucking you up." I'm like, "Okay, maybe you are." I go, "I'm somewhere between like 10 and 35. He's like, "How 10 and 35? I'm like, I don't know. I'm somewhere, I'm in that range. He's like, "Okay, just check." And so I looked, I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm at 51. Sorry, man. I had no idea, right? I had no idea. Yeah.
And that, for anyone because we normally ask our 6-figure earners, like, what advice would you give to somebody just starting out? But because you've hit that triple diamond 7-figure earner, what advice would you give to somebody that is at 6 figures to be able to then break into the 7-figure, bracket? And what do you think those 3 things are the 3 most important?
Yeah. So that's easy, actually. So that's good stuff. So one is, it's funny, my sister actually just sent me this. So it's something that I kind of came up with about 20 years ago, again at the Brick, and it's IIWA. So if I wasn't afraid. So this is a huge one. So this will all tie in to everything. So IIWA is if I wasn't afraid. And what that principle is when I was training my salespeople, again, when I was a sales manager, I wanted people to greet people at the door, right? As soon as they came in, and people were afraid to do it. And I said, well, what are you afraid of? I go, they're either going to like you or not. I go, I don't care if you cartwheel and do the splits at the front door when they come in to get their attention. I go, I don't care what you do, but just keep trying different things until you get your thing that works. And like, I can't, I'm afraid. I'm like, okay, well, what would you do if you weren't afraid? If you had no fear of the outcome at all, what would you do? And like, I would go to the door and talk to people. I'm like, okay, do it now, right? And so that's the principle is if I wasn't afraid, what would you do? And then do it now. Instantly do it now.
Yeah. So we know the answers. We are just scared, and we talk ourselves out of it. And that's 9 times out of 10. What I've found being on lots of high value real estate coaching calls, people know what to do. And that, what you just said, is so valuable because it's like, you know what to do. You just won't do it because you're scared. So like 9 times out of 10, the coach just reminds them of this. You know what to do. You just need to do it. And I'm here to hold you accountable. And then that's how you move people along. The people that are stuck.
But even having them understand that split-second decision is just a split-second decision, and it's going to send you down whichever path you choose. So like if it's If it's every time you just audit it and you're like, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? Well, if I had no fear, I would do this. Do it right there, like no hesitation. And I did all the time. I'm like, if you weren't afraid, would you make this call? Yeah, okay. I'm fucking dialing the number. I'm like, here you go, right? Like, you're not afraid, right? Here you go, right? And just jump in the cold water. So that would be the first one, 100% is if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? And you need to run towards fear because that's going out of your comfort zone. The second thing I would tell people to do is stack skills, right? You have to stack skills. So every single day, this is so important. Every morning, like I run a sales meeting and we talk about something, microeconomics, macroeconomics, policies, mortgage rates, trends, population growth, something, right? Shingles on a roof, different, siding systems, everything. There's something you could learn about the product or there's something you can learn about the business every single day. And then what I like people to do is once we've hit the topic, research it. So spend time on YouTube, spend time on Google and thoroughly understand it. Write a blog because then you've got your thoughts down on paper, not ChatGTP, you write it. So that way your thoughts are formulated on paper and then make a post about it. And now what happens is you've gone through the process of learning that skill or learning that topic. And now what happens is that post, maybe you get action on it, maybe you don't, that's fine. But that's one thing that you've added into your arsenal of conversations that when you're at the bar, when you're at the gym, when you're at the dog park, you can now conversate about that thing, whatever it is. Times that by 365, now you've got a catalog of conversations where you can masterfully move through a conversation, whichever way you want, intelligently and thoughtfully to help people make a decision on whatever they need to do. So every day stack a skill, every single day stack a skill. So that'd be my number 2. And then the third one I would say is you're not doing enough. No matter what you think you're doing, it's not enough. So if you think you're making calls, double it. If you think you're knocking doors, triple it. If you think you're working open houses, quadruple it. No matter what it is that you think you're doing, you have more in the tank. You have the ability to go harder. You have the ability to move thoughtfully faster, not just faster, because that's not always better, right? But you have the ability to do more and you should expect more of yourself. There's somewhere in your day where you're gapping, where you're scrolling on social media, where you're taking a nap, where you're fucking in la la land, looking at the clouds, right? I'm not saying don't take time off. I'm not saying don't de-stress, but you can do more. Like there's always another level that you should expect yourself to get to. So if I wasn't afraid, 100% would to do it now, stack skills, and you are capable of more. Those would be my 3.
And is there anything that you don't like about the real estate industry? Is there anything that's where do you want to start? He says.
Well, I love real estate. Yeah. I don't want to talk. Yeah. Just focus on who you're getting your education from and the way that they built their business and the business that you want. And that's where you should be. If someone's just got a flashy car, watches and stuff like that, that doesn't mean they built the business the right way. Look at how they built their business and the business they run. And that's who you should get your advice from.
Amazing.
A lot of false prophets out here.
Yeah. And I guess that ties into the question I was going to ask. If what advice would you give to somebody that maybe is in that dark hole, that dark place, that wants to change their life, that maybe wants to give real estate a shot? Because, they say 87% of realtors fail within the first 5 years. And what separates, the 20% of realtors that are doing 80% of the business? Like, one, where would you advise for somebody to start? And then 2, what do you think that thing is that separates the real top players, the 20% of the 7-figure plus earners like yourself, as opposed to people that are happy to coast along at 100K a year?
Yeah. 100K is not bad. You know what I mean?
No, of course it's not. One deal a month. Some people are, happy to do that, whereas other people want to,
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's, any shame in 100,000 or 200,000 a year. And like, some people don't want to work like I work, and that's okay. Right.
Yeah.
But to maybe narrow it down to the first people that are coming in, right? Like brand new agents. So this is my experience now of having like hundreds of people through. People have such unreal expectations of what they can do in a year and such unreal expectations of how much they can do in 5 and 10 years. So everybody sets their goal crazy for their first year, 200, 300,000, all this stuff, right? And I think what happens, well, I don't think I see it. What I see happening is people they don't understand how much they have to work in the darkness with blind faith, building skills, building conversations, creating relationships, all that kind of stuff until it takes off. And I see people all the time turn around at like the 3-month mark, the 4-month mark, right as they're getting there. And they're like, it took too long. It's too hard. It's not happening. It's not working. Whereas if you took winning and results out of the equation, like if brand new people, this is the best advice I can give to someone that's brand new, take sales completely out of the equation. Take deals completely out of the equation. It doesn't even exist. Your only job, your only focus is just to get better and have more conversations every day. And I promise you it'll work. It might take 1 month, it might take 3, it might take 6, depends on the volume of conversations and your capability of learning and all those things. But if you just blindly stack skills and blindly have conversations with people with 100% faith it'll work, it will. But I see people give up right. So interesting. Yeah, I see them give up right before.
Yeah, Max, he said he did, I think, 8 deals at the dog park just by he said this little dog earned me so much money. And just by having conversations, he said I think he sold 4 properties to one woman with a dog.
Maybe.
And just from having,
I let him have that one.
And what do you, and to go back to that other question, what do you think it is that those, 7-figure plus earners have, and what is the drive? Like, where you're at right now, you're at 7 figures plus. Where do you see yourself maybe in, let's say what you were saying, what you can achieve in 5 years, where, like, with your current trajectory of what you're doing, where do you think you will be in 5 years, and where would you like to be?
Yeah, so the goal is out of production and just into helping. So if I can help more people at scale would be the ultimate goal. So more coaching programs, more mentorship programs. Mentoring the mentor is something that's on my radar, right? So like, how do I get people to Max's level? And then how do I get Max to help other people, right? Like that's it's my only rule. It's my only thing I ever ask of anybody, right? Because people always say like, oh, like you changed my life. You did this. Can I do something for you? So you can. Yeah, you can. You pay this forward, right?
Love that.
So yeah, like it's honestly it's to help people at scale. And that's like, I've been talking recently about my coaching program, not coaching program, but my 5-day training. I truly feel like it's the best that you can get available because of the reason I built it. I didn't build it to sell it, right? I didn't build it as a course to make money. I built it as a course to truly never sell and to only help people with everything they need mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially in their business, right? So it's like it was literally built from a place of love instead of a place of finance. Yeah. And that's why, like, when people go through it, they're like, oh, there's nothing left, right? Like there's nothing like there's no secondary course or anything. I'm like, no, like that's everything. It's everything you need, right? I think you've been through it, right?
Yeah. Guaranteed success plan. I love it.
Yeah.
I learned the slingshot thing I use in my business.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Super. And I loved going through that because and as I say, like I'm not just this interview, but working with you in the coaching aspect, like really looking forward to seeing how and what, and and as I say, part of what you're bringing to our organization and our client group, me selfishly is wanting to learn what all of these top performers do and getting into your kind of heads to really understand your ways of thinking and how you are able to create the results that you do.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we're all going to learn a lot, so it'll be good.
Yeah, man. Cool. Yeah. So we're going to wind down with a quick fire round. What's the biggest deal you've ever done?
1.9 million.
What did you do with your first commission check?
Went back to the bank.
All right. So let's go. What was the first commission check you were actually able to splurge on yourself, and what did you do with it?
I'd say the first time when I crossed a goal where I was happy with things, I love cooking and want to treat myself. So I bought a nice pan, like a $300 pan. I bought a pair of, can't remember brand, Prada shoes or something like that. And that's it, really. Yeah. And a couple of
Love it.
vacations. Yeah, a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
vacations.
Did you celebrate your triple diamond when you found out you weren't a mil? No, just back to the grind. Love that.
Yeah.
Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry? No comment. Yeah. Best real estate event or conference you've been to?
You know what? I learned so much 2 years ago in Orlando at EXP Shareholder Summit. I took away so much more than I thought I was going to. So yeah, I would say the EXP Shareholder Summit in Orlando.
You doing that this year? Because it's in May. I'm considering it.
Yeah, well, I have to, right? As Icon, we got to go. So
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah. I was talking to John about that. Part of your deal, you have to go and
yeah,
Will you be speaking?
not at this one. They did like a vote thing this time, and man, there's some people like, yeah, the vote system was no good. Some people like one guy's bio is I've done 20 deals in the last 18 months, and what is it? I like TikTok or something like that. It was just crazy. That was his bio, and he had like 10,000 votes. I'm like,
Wow.
that doesn't make sense to me, right?
Has he got a big downline then or something?
No, he's new. I looked him up. He's not doing nothing. I
Right.
think he's got a big he's got a big family that he'll be presenting. Apparently, he's one of the highest voters. So we'll see. Yeah, I didn't like the way they did it this year.
No. What about the worst real estate event where you went and it was just no value or really didn't enjoy it? I went Inman's this year, and just because it was miserably cold in January in New York, and I was just, I'm never going to do another one in North America if it's not June onwards.
Yeah, that's fair. Or the South. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was actually a local real estate group put on a social media training session. This is funny. Like if you know me, I'm notoriously late for everything. My grandma used to say I'm going to be late for my own funeral. Right. So anyways, I come in late to this event, and this is I'm starting to build a reputation for myself. Not to where I am now, but I was starting to build a name. Like now it's pretty crazy. Like I get fucking stalked. I can't believe it because I don't even have that big of a following. But like at least 2-3 times a day, like, oh, Mr. Getty or Shawn, like I'm just a guy that fucking makes social media posts, right? But anyways, so I show up to this event and it's a social media training. There's probably 30, 40 agents there, randomly from whatever. And they've got a social media company presenting. So not even a realtor, but like your company, but for social media.
Yeah.
And you know how realtors are when they're at events, right? Everyone's got like their pocket squares and they got their watches on and whatever. And I roll in 20 minutes late in a gray tracksuit. Like a full-on just sweatsuit.
You had to have had the sliders on, surely.
I did. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's winter, right? It slides. Yeah. And it's funny because I open the door and it's, you know, right? Everybody turns around and I'm like, oh boy. Right. And the company, I didn't know who they were at the time, but the company that was up there, like, oh wow, Shawn Getty's here. I'm like, I don't even have a name badge on or nothing here, right? So I sit down at the back, you know, where I belong. So, and actually not anymore. I always front row now. I've learned my lesson, right? The most successful people I know sit in the front row. So anyways, I'm sitting there and they're doing a presentation on social media and they're making it so complicated, like so complicated. They're like, if you think of your social media as a storybook, and I still remember this, think of your social, and you are the protagonist of your life, and the views are your antagonist. And how do you get the attention of your antagonist? And they're like going through a storyboard and everything. I'm like, oh, this is so complicated and fluffy, right? And I'm seeing people like feverishly taking notes. I'm like, don't take notes. Don't take notes on this. I go, this is not good, right? And then it's funny. So they asked a couple of questions and I kept pretty quiet. Then they asked something and they made a statement that just didn't make sense to me. So I started talking. And it's funny, as I start talking, you just hear the chairs spinning all the way around. And all of a sudden, the whole room had turned their chairs around. And I'm like, oh, these guys are going to fucking beat me up. I go, I better just shut the fuck up. but it's because I understand social media. I understand how it works and trends and attention and all this stuff. I get it, right?
Yeah.
And these guys don't. And they're a company that was paid to come in and do this. And yeah, so it's funny. So then after the thing, I'm sitting there getting like coffee and snacks, whatever, and I've got like a line of people coming talking. These guys are standing there by themselves, right? And but that was probably the worst event I went to. So I'd say, like, if you are going to events and you are going to training, just because somebody's giving you training doesn't mean it's good. Take everything with a grain of salt. Check results, check success, check the people that have been through the programs and are they doing well, and then take notes.
Wicked. TikTok or Reels?
Like Instagram?
Yeah.
No, I haven't done any deals on
TikTok or Reels. Like if you had to pick one.
Oh, Reels for sure. Yeah.
You just prefer Instagram as a platform.
I just, you know what? I need to post more on TikTok. I keep forgetting to put it on there. So like every 10th post goes on there.
Yeah. And you even use Snapchat, I see, from time to time.
I got a ton of deals on Snapchat.
Wow. That's interesting.
On Snapchat?
Wow. EXP or Reel?
Oh, I can't answer that. I'm going to get fucking raked over the coals.
Looks or personality?
What stage of the conversation are we in?
This is just in general.
Has to be both. Yeah. Do you see my video on looks and personality?
No.
Yeah. So what happens is the two most important assets in a business and in a salesperson is looks and personality. I learned this from James again at the Brick. He was interviewing me for a job, my first general sales manager position. And he sat down and he goes, what's the two most important traits in a business person and a salesperson? And I'm like, oh, like tenacity, willing to win, work ethic, hustle, drive, all this, right? He's like, no. I'm like, no, none of these? Like, not one, right? He goes, those are all important, but they're nowhere near as important as these two. I go, what are these two? He goes, looks and personality. So looks and personality. That's a little shallow, right? And he goes, looks will open every door you ever need opened, and personality will get you through the door. Once you're through the door, then you need tenacity and acumen and skills and this and that. He goes, then that stuff is important. But if the door never opens and you never walk through it, none of that matters. And he goes, I don't mean looks as in you have to be a 10 out of 10 bombshell. I mean, you need to be the best looking version of yourself. Are you healthy? Are you put together? Are you, clean cut clothes and whatever, right? Like, do you look good for who you are? And do you have enough personality to get through the door? So for looks and personality, it's both.
Love that. New York or LA?
Oh, fuck LA. That's easy. New York.
Gary V or Grant Cardone?
Overall and in general?
Yeah, just like quick fire round.
Gary V.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
Love it. Shawn, you've been an amazing guest, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And awesome. I can't wait to work with you.
Oh, yeah. Continue to work. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really excited for the coaching aspect. I can't wait to see you at work. Like, I got a little bit of a taster today on your call. But yeah, I'm looking to see what you bring, like not only to your existing team, but obviously our clients as well, man.